Good Monday morning, everybody. A Fox News alert, 1 o'clock in the afternoon in Turkey right now. And Secretary of State Antony Blinken is about to leave that country after meeting with officials from the country to discuss the escalating tensions in the Mideast. He may speak to reporters in the next 10 or so minutes. If so, out at the airport, you're going to see it live here. Brian?
All right. His visit to the Middle East comes as Israeli forces continue forward in every way possibly, entering Gaza City as soon as today, while the IDF claims to have taken control of a Hamas outpost within the Strip.
Meanwhile, across the globe, pro-Palestinian protesters hitting the streets in major cities this weekend.
And we're at Torah Academy of Bergen County. We'll be talking with folks on how it's impacting them here on the local level and in Jewish communities all across the country. But first, we check in with Trey Yingst. He's live on our in southern Israel with the latest. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Right now, we know the Israelis are pushing deeper into the Gaza Strip. They have Gaza City surrounded. And I do want to just show you the level of destruction behind me near to the border. The Israelis say they've hit 450 different targets over the past 24 hours, destroying Hamas command centers and different posts. We do know that they are being ambushed, and the air support and the artillery units along the border are trying to destroy any of the buildings where Hamas fighters are hiding in. That's part of the reason you see so much destruction here. I do want you also to take a look at this video that our cameraman Yaniv Turgeman filmed last night. Along the border, we could see these massive explosions as the Israelis used bunker buster bombs to try and destroy the tunnel network beneath Gaza. Now, this comes as Fox News was granted access into the Gaza Strip this weekend. We were with the Israeli military as they pushed deeper into the Strip and got a first-hand look at the battles between Israel and Hamas. Take a look. You can hear that gunfire in the distance. The Israelis are trying to engage anyone who tries to ambush their forces. And the battle is street by street. It is urban guerrilla warfare as Hamas is popping out of tunnels and ambushing Israeli troops. Right now, we're embedded with the Israeli military inside the Gaza Strip. These forces have been ambushed, shot at, and lost more than 24 of their own soldiers. Still, they fight block by block in bloody urban battle. Their enemy, Hamas, guerrilla fighters popping out of tunnels and trying to kill as many of the Israelis as they can. You see the level of destruction there. There are more than 1 million Palestinian civilians internally displaced inside Gaza. Many homes destroyed. They'll have nowhere to return to. And this does come as the Americans see what's happening on the ground here and are trying to send a message to Hamas's regional allies, including Iran, not to get involved in this fight. We do know in the Red Sea today, there is the USS Florida, a submarine that has 154 Tomahawk missiles on board. Again, the Americans trying to signal to Israel's enemies across the region not to get involved. Guys, back to you.
And Trey, it was amazing video watching you actually in Gaza with the IDF. You know, since they're in there and they're not necessarily coming out, you know, they're staying. They've got Gaza City surrounded at this point, as you just pointed out. How are they resupplying the people on the front lines, essentially, with water and ammo and food and medicine and any equipment they might need?
It's a great question, and they are taking convoys in and out of Gaza, but that journey is the most dangerous part. We were in an APC with the Israeli military for 15 to 20 minutes just to get into Gaza, more than a mile into the Strip. And when we got there, it was far less tense actually inside until the gun battle started, just because there were so many soldiers. They have such a presence in these different areas, but the soldiers are living on cans of tuna and canned corn. It's a very simple life inside Gaza. They understand that they're not going to stay in these positions for a long time, so they have really just what they can carry with them as they move from house to house and advance deeper into Gaza.
Yeah, Trey, this is an interesting juxtaposition today because you have Secretary of State Antony Blinken. He's just about to leave Turkey, and over the weekend, his whole message was that he is pushing, the Biden administration is pushing for this humanitarian pause, and the thinking there is that it would be easier to negotiate for hostage releases if there's a brief pause in fighting. But that's happening as fighting around Gaza City is ramping up. So it does not seem like Israel and the United States is on the same page on this one. How are Israeli officials handling the push from the United States calling for these pauses?
Yeah, the Israelis and the Americans do not see eye to eye on this issue. The Americans say there needs to be a pause in the fighting in order to increase the amount of humanitarian aid, while the Israelis say they need a maximum pressure campaign against Hamas in order to get the hostages released. I think we do have some of the video here of the Jordanian airdrop that took place overnight. Jordan actually took one of their transport planes over the Gaza Strip and dropped aid into Gaza for Palestinian civilians. Now, it wasn't announced, but this is something that certainly was coordinated with the Israelis. Israel understands the amount of pressure they're facing from the United States and others to get aid into Gaza. And so quietly behind the scenes, they're allowing things like this to make sure that the Palestinian civilians in the Strip have just a small amount of aid to get by. But the World Food Program says the amount of aid getting into Gaza simply is not enough, and the humanitarian crisis there will continue to deteriorate.
So, Trey, I understand to have any rescues, you need to get into Gaza City. So is there a sense that the hostages become a priority, as reports are that the IDF is in Gaza City?
Absolutely, it's a priority for the Israelis. And as we were standing on that rooftop inside the Gaza Strip, I spoke with Lieutenant Colonel Gilad Pasternak, and I asked him about the situation. And he gave me some new information, and that information was that the Israelis believe the majority of the hostages are being held inside Gaza City, beneath the city, in the tunnel network beneath Gaza City. And so this is different than what we originally thought. There was an understanding maybe they were spread out throughout the Strip and other population centers like Khan Yunis and Rafah. The Israeli military says they think they are underneath Gaza City, and it's part of the reason they have the city surrounded. They've cut the Gaza Strip in half, and they appear to be pushing in.
Lawrence?
You know, Trey, I've been reading some reports of the mood on the ground from Gazans. And I just wonder, you've been covering this conflict for years before we got to this war. Have you noticed a tone change in the moderates in the Gaza Strip?
There's a huge frustration among Palestinian civilians in Gaza that I've been talking to about what happened. Some of them were horrified by the massacre that took place in southern Israel on October 7th, and they understand that what Hamas did set the Palestinian cause back decades. Now, oftentimes, people look at the situation on the ground and they're not able to make the important distinction between the Palestinian people and the terror organization Hamas. And so there is a frustration among moderate Palestinians about what took place. And there's an understanding that as this unravels, there are people in the United States, for example, that are taking to the streets and protesting against Israel without having a firm understanding about Hamas and what the organization stands for.
Yeah, they also have the Hamas flags up there, too, which is absolutely insane.
That's right.
Trey, thanks so much. We'll check out with you in about 20 minutes. Appreciate it.